There's a lot of YouTubers right now making videos about how GameStop stock has skyrocketed, but they're all like stock market YouTubers or like investment YouTubers. So they're kind of like using stock market lingo. But if you heard about this stock and you don't really know anything about the stock market, but you kind of like the David versus Goliath kind of feel about this story, this is a video for you. I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to explain how these people broke the stock market.
This is Q&A, but Canadian.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Cheyenne and today I'm going to talk about GameStop, because I don't think we understand the magnitude of what has happened here, okay? Literally in 1 week, a bunch of people got together and transferred billions of dollars from hedge fund investors to average, poor, regular, indebted people. So you might have been following the story, but if you haven't, this is what happened. So last year, the guy who invented Chewy.com, the online pet store, he bought a huge stake in GameStop and basically said he believes in this company. He thought they could turn it around in an online environment. Then he got elected to the board. So between him joining the board and then the beginning of this year, the stock went up by like $10. It was hovering at 11, and then beginning of this year, it was like $20. So then a couple people on this subreddit called wallstreetbets got together and said, we don't like that all these hedge funds are betting against GameStop. We believe in this company. We're gonna keep buying this stock. We're gonna raise the price, take it to the moon. That way all of these hedge funds that had betted against the company would lose money. So I don't know who told these people they can mess around with rich people's money, but like they did it. They really did it. Okay, and just to add a little bit of context, like there's this app called Robinhood, and basically you can trade stocks with no fee. So usually when you open up an account where you can buy and sell stocks, it's with a brokerage, right? And they will charge you a flat fee on every single stock that you buy. So like if you buy 10, they charge you the fee. If you buy 1, they still charge you the fee. But with Robinhood, they don't charge any fees. So it's like free to do as many trades as you want. On top of that, you have all these young people who aren't working because of the pandemic, or maybe they are working and just have extra money to spend because they can't go anywhere. And they start investing that money in the stock market because, hey, like there's no fees. But can we just talk about how poetic it is that they used an app called Robinhood to take from hedge fund investors and give to regular average people? Poetry. Okay, so let's talk about how they actually did this. So first, let's talk about what a hedge fund is. A hedge fund is a group of people's money, kind of like a mutual fund, except the people are rich. Rich. To even invest with a hedge fund, you need to prove to them that you make at least $200,000 a year, and that you made it last year, you're gonna make it this year, and you're gonna make it next year. Or you have to prove that you have $1 million in assets. Then you can invest with a hedge fund. So what the hedge fund did, you know, to make some money during a pandemic, but also like I'm sure they do this in regular times, they decided to short a stock. So shorting a stock basically means you believe this stock will be worth less in the future, which seems counterintuitive because it is. Usually we, you know, average people are told you buy stocks now, you hold on to them, and in the future they'll be worth more, and then you sell them for more. Obviously, rich people be playing different games. So how do you short a stock? So say you, the viewer, you watching this right now, you have 10 stocks in GameStop, and you paid $10 for this. So 10 times 10, you spent $100 buying 10 stocks of GameStop. So you have your stocks, you go about your business, you're chilling, stocks are just sitting in your investment account, except they're not. So what happened was a hedge fund called up your brokerage, which is like another fancy word for saying like the bank that has your investment account. They called up your brokerage and was like, hey, I wanna short GameStop. So your bank's like, yeah, no problem. Like we have these stocks just sitting here. They're not really doing anything. We'll just give them to you. You can short it. Perfect. So your brokerage then goes into your account. They take the GameStop stocks and they give it to the hedge fund. So this is where you need to pay attention because it's about to get really complicated for absolutely no reason. So hedge fund then sells your stocks without you knowing. They just sell it. Okay? They sell it for $10, which is what you bought it at. So now your stocks that you thought were in your account have actually been sold to somebody else. And the $100 that belonged to you, that like is technically still in your account, because if you go to your account, you can see it there, is actually with the hedge fund. They have your $100. Even though the hedge fund has your $100 because they just sold your 10 stocks, they still owe you $100. So like they have $100, but they're also in debt for $100. So I don't understand how you can have $100, but owe $100 for selling stocks that you didn't even own to begin with. But that's what's happening here. So when a hedge fund or anybody shorts a stock, they're basically borrowing a stock that was never theirs, selling it under the assumption that the stock price will fall. The reason they make money when the stock price falls is because technically they still owe you those 10 stocks. Like if you were to go to your account and then try to sell your stocks, those 10 stocks have to be in your account. Right now they're not because the hedge fund took them and sold them. But like when you want to go sell them, they need to be there. So the hedge fund needs to go find those 10 stocks, get them back, and then transfer them back to your brokerage so your brokerage can put it into your account so that you can sell it. It's kind of like a circle. So you're living your life, you're in line for McDonald's, you have your 10 stocks in GameStop, you get a notification on your phone that the stock price for your stocks have dropped to $5. So now you're freaking out because you just lost $50, right? You had 10 stocks for $10, $100. Now you have 10 stocks for $5 each, $50. So you're like, okay, let me sell because I'm not trying to lose any more money. Except you can't sell stocks that are not in your account because the hedge fund borrowed it and then sold it to somebody else. So you go to sell your stocks, your brokerage is like, oh damn, they're trying to sell their stocks. They call up the hedge fund, they're like, hey, we need those stocks back. The hedge fund is like, yeah, no problem. We're just gonna use the $100 that we had sitting here because we sold those stocks and we're gonna go buy 10 stocks. But the 10 stocks now cost $5 each. The hedge fund bought them for $10. They have $100 sitting there waiting to buy those stocks again for when you're ready to sell. So now they only need to use the $50 out of the 100 to replace the 10 stocks that they borrowed from you. And the $50 extra they keep for themselves. So that's what shorting a stock is. You're borrowing stocks from somebody that owns it, you're selling it at market value, knowing that the price is gonna fall, and then when that person calls for their stocks back, you just buy them at a cheaper price, give them the stocks, and keep the profit. So in our little scenario, you just lost $50 and a hedge fund made $50 because they borrowed your stocks without asking you and then sold it without telling you. Now in come the Robinhood investors. So basically on this subreddit, you had a bunch of people saying these hedge funds, they're betting against this company. They think it's gonna go bankrupt. We don't agree. We think it has value. We wanna see it succeed. How about we just buy and sell the stocks at really high volumes and make the price go up? And then all the hedge funds that said this company is worthless are gonna lose a ton of money. And we just happen to make money in the process. So they did that. They traded the stock over and over and over, buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling. The more you buy, the more people think it's worth something, the more they pay for it. The more they pay for it, the more other people wanna pay for it, and the price just keeps going up. In a week, the stock rose 400%. So you're probably wondering what happens to the hedge funds when the stock price goes up. So back to our example, you had 10 stocks in GameStop. Hedge fund borrowed it, they sold it for $10, now it's worth $12, right? Okay, hedge fund's kind of like, weird, like it's supposed to go down, whatever. Like worst case scenario, you try to sell your 10 stocks for $12, all they gotta do is come up with $20. They pay $120 now to buy 10 stocks instead of paying $100 to pay 10 stocks. They give you your stock backs, done. But this week it wasn't just like a $2 difference, it was hundreds of dollars. Hundreds per stock. So this week, GameStop reached a peak of $409 per share, which means if you had your 10 stocks, those stocks would now be worth over $4,000. And you only paid $100 for them. The hedge fund also only paid $100 for them. So if you went to go sell your 10 stocks at $409 per stock, the hedge fund had to come up with $4,000 to repurchase your 10 stocks to put it back into your account. That's not how it's supposed to work. Where that extra $4,000 comes to get your 10 shares to put back into your account is not the bank's concern, it's not your concern, it's the hedge fund's concern. Lucky for them, they have a bunch of rich people who gave them their money to invest, so the money's there. It was just supposed to make more money. It wasn't supposed to make less money. So the hedge funds had to come up with billions of dollars to repurchase the stocks that they had borrowed and sold without asking. Sucks to suck. This run up in price kind of started last Wednesday, but then started to skyrocket on Monday, January 25th. But on Monday and Tuesday, the stock market could see that GameStop was going nuts. And it wasn't until Wednesday that they realized that this subreddit was responsible for the skyrocketing price of the stock. So that just goes to show you the bubble that these investors live in. Like they really didn't know to check Reddit. Like for 2 whole days, they didn't know what was happening. And it was on Reddit the whole time for everyone to see. It's embarrassing. Are you not embarrassed? So by Wednesday was a national news story. Everybody and their financial advisor was talking about GameStop. But all the rich people who lost money in their hedge funds were not happy. Displeased. Immediately, these small-time investors were villainized, and their crime was playing the game like rich people. All these news reports were talking about how these small retail investors brought so much instability to the market. There were so many calls for regulation. Everyone was like, how could you let these small-time investors who don't know anything manipulate the price of these stocks and wreak havoc in the markets? So the next day, Thursday, after the world realized that the subreddit wallstreetbets was responsible for all of this, Robinhood blocked purchases of GameStop and AMC, this movie theater that people were also running up the price on, and like I think this stock for headphones and BlackBerry, like Nokia, they stopped all of it. You couldn't buy the stocks anymore. You could sell them while the price was falling, you could sell them, but you couldn't buy them. So just think about for a second the absurdity of a trading app called Robinhood stopping regular people from making money off of rich people. Robinhood. So the next day, Friday, Robinhood reversed their position. They were like, yeah, you can buy the stock, but you can only buy 5 at a time. But that didn't matter because the stock price still rose by like, what, 68%, I think it was. So that's the story. That's what happened. But let's just talk about the magnitude of this whole situation. None of this would have been possible without the internet. Like never in the history of the internet has it been used to transfer billions of dollars from super rich people to regular average people. Even poor people. We've always been promised that because the internet can connect people over huge distances, that would automatically lead to like unity and love and peace and yada yada yada. But lately it's only really served to divide us based on the content algorithms think we want to see. So these investors coming together on Reddit, coordinating their efforts and using this free trading app to screw over rich people is like the internet's coming of age. Is like the internet reaching its potential for good. Throughout history, there's always been a small group of rich people and then huge amounts of poor people. Until one day, poor people just wake up and were like, we don't want to be poor anymore, and then start taking the rich people's stuff. But this time, nobody had to die. The only thing that changed was that a bunch of regular people decided that they were just gonna play the game the way the rich people do. And then they made a ton of money off of it. Because of the internet's ability to gather huge amounts of people to accomplish one thing. We are witnessing the democratization of wealth generation. That was really convoluted, but basically these people on Reddit figured out how to get everybody rich. But let's just talk about the news coverage surrounding this entire event. So my coworker sent me this video from a super conservative news source. In his rant, he was basically saying these regular average Joes, they figured out how to make money on this trading app that has no trading fees. These rich people got upset and they shut them down. Then when I'm watching CNN, they're basically covering it as like this feel-good story of like the small guy beats the big guy, revenge of the financial nerds, or even like a David and Goliath kind of feel. But then they sort of wrap it up by saying like, you know, you don't want to be caught holding the bay, you got to be careful, you know, this isn't really something that's worth putting your money into if you haven't already, like just be careful. So in both scenarios they're rooting on the small guy, but like the Republican side is like get angry about this and the liberal side is like just be careful, but nobody is trying to really talk about how rich people make money. wallstreetbets literally exposed how rich people make money and nobody's talking about it. These hedge funds literally borrow stocks without asking, sell it, knowing the price is gonna go down, and then make money off of it. And then give you back your stocks so you can sell it for less. Why is that even allowed? What do you mean I own these stocks, but you also just lent it to somebody else to borrow and they sold it? Like what is that? Growing up middle class, not having any financial education in school, having to learn all of this stuff on my own. I was always taught never to buy stocks because you could lose all your money in the blink of an eye. But like in my own research, I've learned like you buy stocks now and then when you're older, you sell them because like the stock market always goes up. But nobody told me all of this speculative gambling that people were making money off of. Nobody told me about this. Like there's obviously a gap of information on how certain people make money and how others are told to make money. So there's really only two scenarios that can happen after this. Number one, the stock keeps going up until there's nobody else left to buy the stock because it's too expensive and the price starts falling, people start losing money, and it turns into like I told you so kind of story. And then nobody really does anything about Robinhood cutting off people's ability to buy stocks because rich people were losing money. Or in scenario number two, you have some politician who decides they're gonna go after Robinhood for what they did, and then they're gonna bring to light how the stock market really works. How people make more money off of gambling in the stock market than they do just long-term investing. and how the stock market really only benefits rich people. If I've learned anything at all from investing, it's that it's easier to make money when you already have money. Rich people already have money. So either we democratize the market so everybody gambles just like rich people and everybody has a chance to make just as much money, or we regulate the market so that there's no gambling. Like, pick one. This whole thing of like you only get to sell 5 stocks at a time, that's nonsense. Like, you're protecting rich people and it's showing. So yeah, that's GameStop. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Should we regulate gambling in the stock market, or should we just let everybody gamble in the stock market? What should happen to Robinhood for the nonsense that they pulled this week? If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time.